The Nintendo Switch ended up being a very successful console for Nintendo, specifically in an area where they traditionally have not done very well in the past, and that is third-party support. There were lots of companies who were finally taking a chance on Nintendo and putting their games out on this platform, and now with the Nintendo Switch 2, a lot more companies are aware of the success of the original Switch and are planning on bringing their games to this system. And with the boost in power that the Switch 2 has, there's a lot of possibilities for games that could come to this device. So I want to put together a little list of my 10 third-party games that I would like to see come to the Nintendo Switch 2. Now, with all that said, let's just jump straight into things and hope that if these games do eventually come out on here, that they're not game key cards. So, Monster Hunter Rise was one of my most played games on the Switch 1. I poured a ton of hours into that game, and it was actually my first entry into the Monster Hunter franchise. So, of course, I think it would be pretty dope if Monster Hunter Wilds came out on the Switch 2. I've been playing Wilds on PC for a little while now, and I've been having a lot of fun. It's different from Rise, but it feels really, really good. But for me, personally, I think Monster Hunter is at its best when it is portable, when you can just crank out a session while you're on the train or you're in a waiting room somewhere. Those really long, arduous battles can eat up a lot of time, and that's really great for killing time in places like that, you know? Given that it is a current gen port, it would be more difficult to bring to the Switch 2 than, say, other titles from the PS4 or Xbox One generation, but I do think that with enough finesse, they could make it work on the system. There's also the possibility of them making an entirely new entry for the Switch 2, similar to how they did with Monster Hunter Rise. But for me personally, I think it would be a really exciting opportunity to take with the Switch 2 to have all Monster Hunter players of all different consoles playing on the same game with crossplay and everything enabled. I think it'd be really nice to unite everyone like that, you know? More like Monster Hunter Unite. And while we're talking about Capcom, another game that I would really like to see them bring to the Switch 2 is Resident Evil 4 Remake. Now, this was another one that I played on PC, and it is just an absolute blast. It's such a fun, spooky, action-packed adventure, and I would really like to see this one come to the Switch 2. I played the original Resident Evil 4 on the Switch 1 for the very first time, and so having Remake on the Switch 2 would just be a really cool, full circle moment for me. I believe this game is decently viable to come to the Switch 2, and one thing that has me thinking that they might actually be doing it is the fact that this is the only modern Resident Evil game that did not get a cloud version on the Switch 1. My theory is that instead of doing a cloud version for Resident Evil 4 Remake, they were already working on a native Switch 2 version, and so to make things less confusing, they decided not to do a cloud version and are instead just going to put out the native Resident Evil 4 Remake on Switch 2. And one last thing that I think would be kind of silly to see, it'd be cool if they added like Nintendo exclusive costumes. It'd be silly if you could dress up Leon as Mario or Ashley as Princess Peach. Moving on though, we have a game that was rumored to come to the Switch 1 for quite a while now, but never showed up. And that is Hi-Fi Rush. Now, I absolutely adore this game. The soundtrack, the gameplay style, the visuals especially, is just a fantastically fun game and fits the Nintendo vibe really, really well. I really wanted this thing to come to the Switch 1, and it even seemed like, through different rumors and stuff, that it was going to come to the Switch 1, but that never happened. And now with the Switch 2 out, I think it would be really cool to see a Switch 2 version that could take advantage of the more powerful hardware to really make those visuals pop. They could even add some fun Nintendo exclusive stuff, like motion controls or amiibo support, just something to make this version a little unique. With everything that went on at Tango, which I will never forgive Xbox for, it seems like they're still finding their footing with their new company, Krafton, so maybe once they get situated, we can maybe see this game come to the Switch 2. Now for our next game, I must say, I'm not the biggest Final Fantasy fan in the world. I've dabbled in the series, but I haven't really fully delved in, But god damn, is Final Fantasy XVI a fantastic game. It has one of my favorite combat systems in any game I've ever played, really great characters, really great story, fantastic music. It is like at least a 9 from me. Honestly, a Switch 2 port seems a little ambitious with everything that's going on in that game. However, the producer of the game did recently say in a little interview livestream thing that only Nintendo is left now for 16 to come. So hopefully they are indeed considering it. I do think it would kind of be a tough port, but already with the Switch 2, we've seen some pretty impressive stuff. So I don't think that it would be impossible. I just think you need the right ambition and the right team to do it. I feel like a lot of people kind of overlooked 16 when it came out. So I think having a Switch 2 port would also be a great opportunity for the game to get a sort of second wind. Now to stick with Square Enix for a second, and this is a game that I actually fully expected to come to the Switch 1, which just never did. Nier Replicant. This is a remake of the very first Nier game that came out before Automata. And given how Automata did on Switch, both in terms of how it ran and also how well it sold, I just figured Replicant would come out at some point. Of course, we never ended up seeing that happening, which is a bit unfortunate, but hopefully that means that we can potentially see a Switch 2 version of this game. Obviously, I'd be very excited for this game to come, but in terms of how realistic it is, I'm a little unsure, not because I don't think that it would run on the Switch, I think it would work fine on the Switch 2, but I just don't know if Square cares a whole lot about this game. It feels like it came out and then it kind of just flew by. No one really talks about it anymore. No one's really clamoring for it to come to the Switch 2. So it seems like a bit of a niche pick for them to port it to Switch 2. But given how Automata did in terms of sales, I think it's at least decently possible for it to happen. And I am really hoping that it happens because I've been holding out for a Switch version for quite a while now. Now, one thing that the Switch 1 did not have enough of in its lifetime was multiplayer shooters. And that's where our next entry on the list, Marvel Rivals, comes in. I haven't played a ton of Marvel Rivals, but what I have played, I've really enjoyed it. It takes me back to like my Overwatch days, except it's even more hectic than Overwatch, and I'd say even more fun. These sort of casual multiplayer games where you can just jump into a match and mess around and play with your friends are a really good fit for something like the Switch, where you can just pick up and play and take it with you, and it feels like it makes a lot of sense, at least in my mind. And honestly, I just don't really want to keep Marvel Rivals installed on my laptop. It's just too damn big. I'd rather just like keep it on the Switch. Those 70 gigabytes can be used elsewhere, you know? Now, one of the Switch 2 launch titles we got was Yakuza 0 Director's Cut. And a little before that on the Switch 1, we had Yakuza Kiwami ported. But I am skipping all the way down the line to Yakuza 7 and 8 for this tier on the list. Now, I'm putting these games together because I could really go for either of them. I mean, I played through all of Yakuza 7 and really enjoyed it. It's one of my favorite RPGs of all time. It's really refreshing, really fun, really unique. And obviously Yakuza 8 is the sequel to that game, which I hasn't played. And so playing it for the first time on the Switch 2 would be a really cool experience. Now, will this happen? I think yes. I think the question is more so when these games are going to come to the Switch 2. Because there are a lot of games between Yakuza 0 and Yakuza Kiwami, and then 7 and 8. So there's a lot of stuff that they could potentially put out before these games. However, I also feel like due to their high acclaim, especially 7, and it being a sort of good entry point into the series, starting this new storyline with Ichiban, I could see them maybe moving those games up further into their release schedule compared to like Yakuza 6 and backwards. All of that is to say, I would really like more Yakuza on Switch. Now we have another Sega RPG here with Metaphor ReFantazio. Now some of you might be asking, why not Persona 3 Reload? And to that I have two very simple answers. One, I haven't played Metaphor ReFantazio, so I think it would be more exciting to get a game I haven't played. And two, I didn't really like Persona 3 Reload that much. I mean, I think it's fine, but, you know, nothing I'm dying to like replay on the Switch. But I've heard really great things about Metaphor, and it looks really beautiful, really unique. The style and the gameplay just look super fun. and I think it would work great with the portable nature of the Switch 2. I was playing Persona 5 Reload on the Switch, and it's just so nice being able to have an RPG of that scale, to be able to take it with you and pause and, turn the system into sleep mode whenever you want. It just makes it a lot more convenient. And so I think having Metaphor on the Switch 2 would be a natural good match. For the record though, I think it would also be cool if Persona 3 Reload came eventually. I mean, I probably wouldn't pick it up, but I just think it would be nice if it was there. For the next game on the list, we have another turn-based RPG, because apparently I can't get enough of those, but we have Claire Obscure Expedition 33. And I'm gonna be real, I know even less about this game than Metaphor ReFantazio, but everything I've seen of it, everything I've heard about it, just seems so damn cool. So much high praise. I'm hearing people call it an early Game of the Year contender, and even ever since the initial trailers came out for this game, I've been really interested. I think it's really cool to see this sort of traditional turn-based RPG format with a pretty realistic art style and very different art direction. The action command system in the game, where you need to hit buttons in time with your moves, it just adds a layer to the turn-based combat, and it looks really, really fun. And I don't think that it would be a ridiculous thing to port this game to the Switch 2. I could be wrong, but it seems somewhat doable to me, and I think that would be a really exciting port to come to the Switch 2, so I really hope it happens. I know it's a small team, but maybe they can make it work. This next game I played a demo of a while ago, and I really, really loved it, but there was always this thought in the back of my mind that this game could probably come to the Switch, and that game was Lies of P, and I'm an idiot because it never did. This game just had such an interesting world, had really good music, really interesting characters, and obviously really good combat, that sort of Souls-like combat. So I really, really enjoyed my time with the demo, and yeah, I really hoped for it to come to the Switch 1. It never did. Maybe it was a bit of a long shot now that I think about it, but with the Switch 2, I think that's a much more reasonable request. I would just really love to have this game on the go, and seeing as they just put out some DLC, it feels like they're still working on this game, they're still supporting it, so I don't think a Switch 2 port would be unreasonable or unrealistic. Now, if you know me, you may have noticed a certain lack of a blue hedgehog on this list, which might be surprising, and that's where this entry comes in, because I am asking for literally every single Sonic game to come to the Switch 2. Okay, I'm like half joking. There are definitely some games that I would like more than others, but to just list off a bunch of them, Sonic Adventure, Sonic Adventure 2, Sonic Heroes, the Sonic Advance games, the Sonic Rush games, Sonic Unleashed, and Sonic and the Black Knight would all be very cool on the Switch 2. Whether these are remasters, remakes, ports, thrown into the NSO expansion pack thing, whatever the case is, I just want to have a lot of Sonic on my Switch. There is a good amount right now, but there could always be more. Especially Sonic Adventure 2. If Sonic Adventure 2 came out on the Switch, it would easily become like my most played game on there. It just... And so, that is my list of third-party ports I would like to see on the Switch 2. But let me know what games you guys would like to see come to the Switch 2. I'm sure there are a bunch of games that I completely forgot about and left my mind, and I'm like, oh, that would be great on Switch 2. So, if you guys have any thoughts, please do let me know, and let me know if you're also excited about any of these games potentially coming to the Switch 2. I think that I have a pretty solid little list. There's a lot of games on here that I would, be hooping and hollering if they got announced. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you enjoyed, click the like button, subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, and I'll see you all later. Peace.